Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, September 9th, 2016. And the big stories have to do with Hillary Clinton, and she's having a hard time with words and phrases that begin with the letter C. I mean, coughing, concussion, Clinton Foundation, classified server. She's having a hard time. I mean, I'm just going to start with the concussion thing. The FBI files, I mean, she didn't remember vast amounts of time at the Secretary of State and the State Department because she hit her head. Didn't remember getting briefings on what constitutes classified and top secret information. Doesn't remember anything. In the latest presidential forum, where somebody asked, a veteran said, I'd be, in jail if I did what you did, basically. And then she comes up and says she told a whopper right there. Used a classified server for classified documents. That's a whopper. Not according to the FBI. That's a new wrinkle. I mean, she is either she's got memory problems, she's got, large amounts of time, doesn't understand what's going on. Either she's this sharp, hip, cool, smart, well-experienced lady, or she's a complete buffoon. She's the coughing thing. I always thought it was kind of a cheap shot when the people, cut together her coughing at different speeches. But this past week, where NBC got her and basically showed her coughing for minutes upon many minutes, it went on and on and on. And then she gets mad that the Clinton camp gets mad that how dare you showed that? I mean, they weren't giving her her usual kid glove treatment protecting her. And then she gives a press conference after, 278 days she's running for president. She finally she has all kinds of time for donors in Beaumont and donors in California and donors in Beaumont, Texas. And she has all kinds of time for her donor class, but she doesn't have time for the little people, for the reporters, which act like puppy dogs. I mean, listen, I was around during the Watergate. Nixon erased 18 minutes of tape. And had people involved in a petty break-in to see what the Democrats were going to do so he wouldn't be robbed as he was in 1960, as the story goes, with Kennedy. That is nothing compared to the multitude of security breaches and influence peddling and, I think, treason with, the unprotected servers, the selling favors at the Clinton Foundation. Her chief of staff had that job and two other ones, at least for a while, that the Russians end up with lots of our, big chunk of our uranium production. Her husband is also in on the act, favors done for donations to the Clinton Foundation, charges that it's a huge, a criminal operation. Charles Ertel out again with another story. It's a charity fraud. It's a huge charity fraud. You can't prove that they're doing the right thing with this, doing good. It's like a bank robber that robs a bank and steals a couple $100,000 and says, hey, I did some good with that money. I gave like $10,000 to some poor people, and I bought somebody some medicine, and I did some good with it. It's the coughing thing, though, is 71% of doctors are out saying, hey, he's got a problem. I had one of my medical professional friends say, if it might be lung cancer. She might be having, because, the coughing is uncontrollable. I mean, if she had some, allergy or something like that, they'd up the antihistamine dose or whatever. This is according to my medical friend. But this person said, she might have lung cancer. But 71%, this is not normal, what she was doing with this speech she was giving where she's coughing and coughing and coughing and coughing. I assume she's not a smoker. But that's just one of many wrinkles. And the press, won't even ask hard questions. You got to have somebody from the audience talk about the security breaches. You're not Matt Lauer. And certainly not going to bring up the fact that, this is a charity fraud because he's a donor, along with George Stephanopoulos and many other people. Rupert Murdoch, Fox, he's a donor. There's a lot of donors to this fraud. According to Charles Ertel, they can't prove it's a functioning charity, and the onus is on them to prove it. But I mean, the myriad of things, and then she comes up with this, when this person asks her a question, classified server for classified documents. I'm telling you, I have to go back to that. It's a huge whopper of a lie, a huge whopper, and nobody questions her on this. I mean, this is unbelievable, and the more she gets questioned, the worse she looks. She has this press conference They started asking her about her emails, which, said that the FBI said she was extremely careless, quote unquote, extremely careless. People have said that it's a national security breach. She clicked on phishing ads. It got caught. I mean, and then all these thousands and thousands of emails that weren't turned in, that were discovered, that then using bleach bit to destroy. That's obstruction of justice. This is off the charts. This makes what Nixon did look like a schoolyard prank. And that's the big story, folks. I mean, that's a huge story. The other big story is the economy, and I'll just start with the G20 that happened over last weekend. Obama was not well received. I mean, not well received in Asia. The Chinese don't like him. Other people don't like him. There's rumor, and I cannot back this up, that this SpaceX, rocket that was going off was carrying a Chinese satellite. I cannot confirm this rumor, but supposedly it was sabotaged. Maybe China's mad about that. Maybe China's mad about, who knows. But there's plenty of tension in the world. And incidentally, the G20 theme that came out of the G20 was there's a living in a global risk society, and the three big risks are economic, ecological, and security. This is what came out of the G20, not rosy skies and things are going, but economic. And I want to go, to the economy. And the economy is terrible. This has happened late last week, and here is just a little, productivity down, labor cost increase, car sales, take a big plunge. Then there's also new information that one of the dealers, one of the car companies, Chrysler, may be faking their car numbers. I mean, we just live in a phony world of phony of data and lies and everything else. It's like the Twilight Zone. The ECB, European Central Bank, Mario Draghi, the head of the ECB, said they're going to continue buying corporate bonds. They're buying everything that moves. They're going to continue buying corporate, or they may run out of corporate bonds to buy. And then he lowers the rating, the future rating for what the economy is going to be. He lowers the forecast, which basically says, I talked to Gregory Mannarino, he says, hey, did you already said? I says, he lowered the forecast. He basically said it doesn't work. And he says, helicopter money, where they actually just give money to citizens, can't be far behind. That's how you know when it is just about at the end, and also that the money's no good. This is Mannarino, TradersChoice.net. Good friend of mine, smart guy. He says, listen, that is powerful for the Mario Draghi to lower his forecast, which basically says what he's been doing, it hasn't worked. I mean, the economy should be taking off like a rocket, and it's not. We're getting, further and further into negative interest rates, more and more bonds paying a negative yield. Not good. And then you take a look at Hanjin, the South Korean, shipping company. That when they went bankrupt, and they say there's $14 billion floating around out in sea. It's chaos, they say. Well, that they're not selling too many, Samsung TVs and phones. They're not selling, too many Hyundai cars, for them to go bankrupt. They're like the 7th or 8th biggest container shipping company in the world. So it's not going well at all. It's going, awful. And this is after all this money printing, all these low rates, and all this QE1 and 2 and 3, and who knows if we're going to get 4, helicopter money, and, twist, and it's not good. And, for the G20 to say that, we're living in a global risk society, wow, that doesn't sound very good. For the the biggest economic powerhouses in the world to talk about how we got security risks and economical risks and ecological risk. I mean, the economic risks are huge because when this doesn't work anymore. I mean, listen, folks, I don't believe in Dodd-Frank. I don't believe in all that. You know what I believe in? I believe in Glass-Steagall. You know why I believed in Glass-Steagall? Because it was a pathway to bankruptcy. Hey, investment banks, you want to invest money? Go ahead, do all you want. But if you make a mistake, you go down. You go under. We're going to take your assets. I believe in bankruptcy. That's the overarching problem with all this. We never washed the debt out of the system. We just piled on the sovereign debt, the risk. We piled it on. We made the problem bigger. It's like somebody just about getting ready to file for bankruptcy, and 10 banks send them 15,000 limit credit cards. Woohoo! Hey, I got 150 grand. Let's party. We don't have bankruptcy. We had too big to fail. too big to jail. And, that's why all these oligarchs are overlooking I mean, come on, folks. Hillary Clinton, a private server, she broke the law. She jeopardized national security. She, basically got bribed at the State Department for donations. The Clinton Foundation is a global charity fraud. But the oligarchs, they don't care. They want this criminal fraud to continue. I don't care if it's the top Republicans or the top Democrats. That's what they want. They don't care. It's obvious that's what's going on. Obvious. I will say that I wanted to bring this up that, the newspapers up in St. Louis, and here we have Phyllis Schlafly, who they did a nice thing on her, and then they plenty of time for a big election. They actually were fair. They actually were fair, and not everybody is like Gannett, but even Gannett. Here is one of their headlines this week, and actually one of the few times they actually had both Clinton and Trump on the front cover, and they actually spoke fairly. They actually said that Trump and Clinton point out credentials and each other's failings during leadership forum. I don't know if, it's because, back in the end of April, Gannett stock was $17 and change, and this week it was $12 and change that they're off by 25 or 28 or 30%, whatever that would work out to be. That's a big chunk for a $17 and change stock to be a $12 stock. That's a big chunk from, April, May, June, July, August, September. That's a big chunk in 5 months. 5 more months could be off another $5-6, right? They're killing their own business models. I don't think there's any coming back from this. For these people, they're not reporters. They're not instructing their people to be reporters because you'd have editorial and you'd have people approving scripts. I know I worked at the networks. Nothing gets on the air at the networks without script approval. And if it's something that you get your school, sued, it's like, you have legal. And if it's something that we're swatting a fly with, our CNN canon or ABC canon, then you have, standards and practices. Do we want to do that? How do we look if we, you know what I'm saying? But this is unbelievable what's been going on. I mean, they don't even ask 278 days. Nobody's even putting in for requests for, hey, what's going on with the no press conferences? Like, what? What, Clinton Foundation a fraud? What, no press conferences? What, all this coughing? And then, Hillary Clinton, their camp is, be careful about, reporting on the coughing. When that came out that the doctors, 71% of doctors say, yeah, she could be disqualified. She may not be able to be president. And, she's got something going on. It's just not an occasional cough. I mean, she couldn't talk the other day. And, but that's just one of many things. The biggest problem I think she has is all the fraud and security breaches and destruction of emails and lying. And it's just unbelievable. Oh, and let's be fair. Trump said some bad things about, all the illegals coming over across the border. I mean, there's no comparison. Okay, so I'm in a farm in Missouri here, and, listen, I want to start with this, the drought monitor. And if you look at the drought monitor, look pretty good. I mean, here's Missouri right here. And, the breadbasket of America is looking, pretty good. Although this is kind of a new wrinkle up here in the Northeast. Some drought conditions coming up. There's a little bit down here, but in the Northeast. But out west is better, but it looks like the drought is less, centralized in just California, and it looks like it's getting, at least half the state of California is in some sort of pretty severe drought. And then it looks like it's all over the entire state of Arizona, which is normally dry anyway, but it's showing that, for its area, it's dry. And all the way up the coast, I mean, this isn't getting better, folks. Got a little better, but it's not getting better. Now, the Midwest, plenty of water. As a matter of fact, it's just unbelievable amounts of water. They're getting too much water. The corn, which I'm in front of a bean field right now, but the corn, they want to take it out, and we just got a bunch of rain. It's very hot, very humid. It's been in the 90s, mid-90s, very hot, very humid. But behind me, beans are loving it. Beans get planted a little later. Corn got planted early, at least here in this area that had kind of a mini drought. But the beans, this is what soybeans look like. They look like this. This is the pods of the beans. Okay, a little edamame. And I can't even. You can open them up. And you can see a little. There we go. There's a little bean there. That's what the soybean looks like. There you go. And they're looking good. I mean, lots of pods. This is about halfway down. The pods are all the way down. They're getting pretty high. Crops look good. Of course, the more food is grown in America than probably anywhere else in the world. Yes, I know it's GMO. I know that. But the crops it's better than having a crop failure, better than having nothing to eat. So, but the crops here look really good. The water situation is really good. And, that's going to be good for farmers here. The economy in the Midwest seems to be better than in other places because farmers are growing things. We still have, a big, economy with agriculture. Folks, it looks pretty good here. But the G20 meeting and the IMF meeting at the end of the month, there's a lot of talk about that. I have Michael Krieger on, who's a former Wall Street analyst. He has, Blitzkrieg.com. He's going to be on for the early Sunday release. Pretty interesting stuff he comes out with. He's a former analyst. He doesn't think there'll be a big, vast, a currency devaluation. But what he's worried about is interest rates. I mean, listen, we're at the bottom of the interest rate curve. When it goes up, he says it'll be an economic extinction event. It'll change things forever. We'll be in we've been in a declining cycle. Then we're going to be in a rising cycle. That's going to be the turn. We're right down at the bottom of the V of the interest rates. We're down, maximum velocity down, and now the only place it's going to go up. But you should listen to Michael Krieger. He'll be the early Sunday release. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thanks for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and your donations. And remember, fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, and above all, spiritually. Fear not. God the Father is firmly in charge.